Here with me is the Creative Zen Hybrid, and I've been using it for a while now, and this is my review of the headphone. So a day after I've received the headphone, I actually received an email that actually teaches me how to get started with the headphone, and it's titled that it's on the way. So I'm supposed to receive the email before receiving the headset, but one day after is perfectly alright. So in the email, they actually introduced the headphone and they show the different controls that you could do with the headphone, which is the usual single press, double press, and so on. And at the bottom of it, they actually tell you how to differentiate the charging light indicator on the headphone. It is definitely a nice approach to get the customer excited for the headphone, but I feel that the controls should be included in the application itself. And speaking about the application that Creative has for the headphone is called the SXFI App, and as usual, you could choose between using the app or just directly connecting the headphone with the standard Bluetooth way of pairing the headphone. So for the Creative app, as usual, there is the whole registration and sign up and linking of your headphone to the app, and once you're done with the whole registration setup, the first thing that you see upon entering the app is the list of songs that you have on your device, whether it is on your tablet or your phone, depending on where you actually install the app on. It gives me a file manager kind of feel towards the app rather than a headphone kind of feels to the app. So I feel that maybe that part of the UI could be more polished in some sense. Like take for example, if you see like Jabra app or the Sony app, you could see that the app feels more professional and feels more polished compared to the one that Creative has. So one of the focal point of Creative app is their super sci-fi technology. And if you were to tap on the hamburger menu at the top left hand side and under personalize, you could see that you could go through a series of steps and they actually tell you what super sci-fi is about, how you can actually personalize your headphones to tune based on the shape of your head or shape of your ear. So the very first step is the performing of the head mapping, where you're supposed to take a photo of your left ear, right ear, and your face, and they have some sort of algorithm for them to actually tune based on how your ear and face look like. However, at the very first step, I couldn't even get the ear mapping done properly. I'm not too sure why, but I've tried on both my tablet and my phone, and both of them apparently do not seem to work. I am very certain that the mapping of the ear is matching to what I'm seeing on the app because I actually did a screen record of it, and when I play back on the video, you could see that the ear mapping actually mapped to my ear. And for this, honestly, I would recommend someone to help you using the rear camera instead of using the front-facing camera, because if you were to put the phone at the right or left side of the ear, you couldn't really see how the mapping is done. So for that, I actually did that on my own, and I did that in front of a mirror so that I could see where it is the ear to the front-facing camera in order to map them, but it just didn't work for whatever reason. So under the headphone selection, you could see that there is a list of headphones or earphones that you could select from Creative, and for this case, of course, you select the Creative Zen Hybrid. And if you were to scroll down further, there's actually third-party brands that you could actually view from, and there is a pretty long list of brands and models that you could select from. But honestly, I would think that you would download the respective apps for the brands. So for example, I have a Jabra Elite 85T, and I would download the Jabra application instead of using the Creative SXFI app. So the next thing that you could find the app is the Equaliser. So despite not being able to map my ear to the super sci-fi technology, you could tune the equalizer to your liking. So for example, if you want to increase or decrease the bass, increase or decrease the treble, you could actually tune it accordingly and set it as a custom EQ. And there is a certain preset EQ that you could select from. So for example, if you're watching a movie, Creative has a preset EQ called Cinema, and perhaps that would actually allows you to have a better cinema experience compared to the standard equalizer. And that's all for the app, and honestly, I do not use the app much when using the headphone, and the headphone can be used in two ways. One, it's via Bluetooth, and the other, it's via the headphone jack. So for the headphone jack, you could actually use the headphone while it's switched off like a regular wired headphone, but you could actually switch on and you enjoy the features of the headphones such as the volume controls, the ANC, and the Hearthrough mode. So let's start with the physical control first. So the controls are all on the right side of the headphones. So if you are a left-hander, I feel that that is kind of too bad, or you could actually switch the headphones from left to right since it shouldn't really matter much perhaps. and you can easily differentiate the controls by touching it because the volume buttons are two buttons together, which are the plus and minus. The power button is circular in shape with a certain texture to it, and the ANC button it's a pew shape. So based on touching it, you can actually feel the difference as to what button is what. It took me like maybe one day to get used to it, and it is pretty straightforward to differentiate the different buttons. And in my opinion, the buttons are pretty clicky and responsive as long as you single press them. But if you were to do double pressing, like for example, when I want to toggle hear-through mode, you actually press the ANC button twice, and if you want to turn off the hear-through mode, you actually press twice. So sometimes when I were to press 2 times, it actually does not register. So I'm not too sure why. Maybe I didn't press fast enough, or maybe I pressed a little too fast, but that is some of the areas which I feel that the experience isn't that nice when you were to double press a certain button. And speaking about the buttons, all the configurations are not customizable. So what is stated in the email, you actually have to get used to it with the single and double pressing while listening to your music or watching shows and while you are on a call. So listening experience wise, let's start with the latency. So I feel that if you were to listen to music, definitely you're not actually watching the music since you're just listening to it. That is perfectly alright. For shows, it is okay. I feel that there is a slight latency like a 0.25 to 0.5 seconds if you were to really notice it, but honestly it is perfectly alright with me unless I were to actually watch their lip very closely to what they're saying, then that might actually affect me a little bit. But for majority of the cases, I feel that latency is fine, except for one where I was playing a rhythmic game, and that slight latency actually matters because for rhythmic games, there is a difference between how you toggle like perfect score and a great score and a good score. So that actually makes a lot of difference despite that slight latency. So I will actually plug the headphones to the laptop via the cable so that the latency will not be visible at all. For ANC, I feel that it works kind of well. It actually helps to reduce the volume of the surrounding, not completely. So for example, I was watching my show in the room. I could still hear my parents talking from the living room, but it wasn't that loud. So ANC does help, but I guess you could actually increase the volume as well to help out in that situation. And for hear-through mode, it actually works well in listening to your surrounding while watching whatever you're watching on your phone. And if I were to pause it, I could hear very clearly to have conversation with my colleagues. So sound quality wise, honestly, I'm not an audiophile person. So if you're someone who is very particular about sound quality, honestly speaking, I would suggest you to seek to other videos or other reviews of people who are more particular in that area. But all I could say is that if you're not okay with it, there's the equalizer for you to actually adjust accordingly. But for me, I feel that as long as it works, and as long as it doesn't feel of poor quality, I'm okay with it. I know that is one area that I'm lacking in when it comes to reviewing headphones and earphones, but I could cover all other aspects of them, like the overall experience, the applications, the controls, and so on. And for feedback, when you actually switch on the headphone, there is actually a feedback that says power on. Same goes for switching off, it will say power off. And whereas in pairing mode, it will say pairing. And for like ANC, it will say ANC on, ANC off, hear-through on, hear-through off. So battery wise, you could actually last up to 27 hours with ANC on and 37 hours with ANC off. And if you were to completely deplete the battery on your headphones, it takes up to 2 to 3 hours to actually charge the headphones up to full. But if you come to a situation where you really have no battery on your headphones, you could actually switch the headphones from Bluetooth mode to wired mode, and you could actually use the headphones even with the headphones being switched off. For me, I'm not too sure whether or not that calculation is true in terms of the battery life. As much as I use it every day, I do not actually take note in detail as to like maybe I use it for 2 hours in one day, maybe I use it for 5 hours the next day. But based on my usage on the headphones, I actually did not have the chance to actually charge the headphones at all despite using this for close to 2 weeks right now. There are situations where I actually use it wired mode being switched off, and there are situations where I actually watch shows with the Bluetooth being switched on. So overall, I feel that the battery life should be pretty good on the headphones. Oh, one more thing, the microphone on the headphones. So I actually had a phone call with my mom and I asked her about her opinion as to how clear it is on the other side listening to what I'm saying, and I was playing some music at the background while having the phone call with her, and she said that she could actually hear the music just a little bit at the background, and as for my voice, she says that it is loud and clear. So I feel that that should be a pretty positive one in terms of the microphone quality. But let's find out whether that is true after listening to a series of microphone samples quality. So this is a sample of how the audio sounds like in a quiet environment, and this is a sample of how it sounds like if there is music playing on the background. And this is a sample of how it sounds like if there is some office background sound. So hopefully all these sound samples are accurate enough. And one more thing to mention, there are no multi-point connection for its Bluetooth connectivity. So if you require something that allows you to switch from one device to another device, you have to unpair and pair them. And speaking about the microphone, I'm not too sure whether or not it is the settings on my laptop that I did not configure properly, or is that when you plug into the laptop using the cable provided or the wire provided, I couldn't actually get the headphones microphone to be working. So I'm not too sure if it is supposed to be that way or if it's some settings that I actually configured wrongly. So pricing. This headphone actually costs $149 on the Creative website. And as per recording, you could actually get this at $60 off if you were to subscribe to their newsletter. And for me, I actually got this headphone at an early bird pricing, which is 50% of its original price. And because I got this at 50% off, I feel that it is definitely worth it to get these headphones. But at $149, honestly, I'm not exactly too sure because I feel that I'm being spoiled with the option of getting this at half the price. But with the ongoing discount that you could actually get it from, I feel that it should be a pretty good pricing at $60 less from 149 bucks. So overall, I do actually like the headphones for firstly the price at half the price because I got it at early bird pricing for its comfort and weight. I don't feel any discomfort using the headphones at all throughout the movies, and I like the color of it because it's white instead of the usual black headphones which most of them are. Okay, putting that aside, I actually like how the latency is kind of alright when watching shows, but if you're someone like me who plays like rhythmic games which requires a precise beat or note to listen to, then there is actually the option for you to plug in the headphone jack to remove that latency issue. The only complaint I have here is probably the controls, which firstly is not customizable, so you have to get used to what single double press for each of the buttons represent, whether you are listening to music or watching shows or if you are in a call. And secondly, for those double press functions, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work, so that can be a little annoying, but at the same time, it is alright because I do not actually double press a lot. Most of the time, I just single press because the basic buttons like the volume up and down to control the volume and the ANC toggle to switch on and off, as well as the power mode to just basically long press it to switch on and off. Oh, and the other complaint is probably the super sci-fi technology. The mapping of gear, for whatever reason, I couldn't get that map, and I actually spent quite an amount of time, especially using the front-facing camera, but it still does not work. But yeah, overall, I feel that they are more positive than negative, and I'm alright without the super sci-fi technology, but I'm very curious as to how it is like with the technology versus without the technology, because it should give a more immersive experience while listening to music, for example, I feel, since the super sci-fi technology is one of the focus or one of the main point of the creative lineup, regardless of the headphones or earphones that you get. So yes, if you like this video, do give it a like, do comment down if you have any opinions, and do subscribe for future videos like this. Thanks for watching.